Hello and welcome to the WTF podcast with The Flow. My name is Stephanie Babane and I'm here to help answer all of your WTF questions when it comes to all things related to spirituality, mindset, and the metaphysical. I'll answer your what the F, who the F, where the F, when the F, why the F, and even though it doesn't start with a W, the occasional how the F questions that you might have upon entering the world of personal development and embarking on a spiritual journey. Ultimately, my hope and intention is that at the end of every single episode, you leave smiling and understanding a little bit more about yourself and how to live a happier life in the flow with this miraculous, infinitely expanding, all-loving universe that we all call home. I love you. Let's effing do this. Hello and welcome back to the WTF podcast, coming to you live from my apartment where the air conditioning has stopped working and I run the risk of being interrupted by 2 barking dogs and construction outside. And yet the show must go on. I hope that you guys have had a wonderful holiday season so far. It is after Christmas. It is after Hanukkah. And I'm not sure if I don't know the dates of Kwanzaa, and I'm not sure if there are any other holidays that I'm missing. So I just hope that you've had a wonderful holiday season so far and that you're getting ready for the new year. Before I even get into the topic, I just wanted to kind of use this opportunity to talk about New Year's resolutions for a moment. And I think it's important that I make it clear why it is that I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. And one of the reasons is because, and I actually really picked this up from Gabby Bernstein the other day, which is such a good point, is a resolution implies that something needs to be fixed. And in order for something to be fixed, it has to be broken. And that implication means that something within you or your life is broken. And I think that's a really personally negative way to view something. I don't think that just because something in your life isn't the way you want it means that it's broken. It just means that it's something not to your liking that you get to change. So if you are trying to create a New Year's resolution for yourself, see if you can instead reframe it and just set an intention for yourself for the new year. Set an intention and set a goal. An intention is basically what you want to focus on, how you want to show up. And then a goal is something that you can tangibly measure. So honestly, saying something like, I want to be more happy. I mean, that sounds like a beautiful goal, but it's not. Unless you can measure your happiness in some way, that's not really a goal. That's more of an intention, right? So an intention would be, I'm just going to do more things that make me happy, or I'm going to practice being more joyful, or or practicing gratitude, or whatever it might be. Whereas a goal is something like, I am going to earn X amount of money. I am going to release X amount of pounds. I am going to go on X amount of vacations, or I am going to see my friends X amount of times a week. Whatever your goal is, it's yours. It's completely yours. Just make sure that you pick something that's worthy of you, that excites you. Because one of the reasons that most people don't keep their New Year's resolutions is because they don't actually make the decision that they're going to do whatever it takes in order to achieve the desired outcome, right? So lots of people are, I'm just going to go with weight loss here because I feel like that's like the number one resolution that a lot of people make is like, I'm going to lose weight this year. I'm going to go to the gym every day this year. Well, for one thing, to go from not going to the gym all the time to going to the gym all the time, that's not really a fair expectation to place on yourself. So wonderful goal if that is your intention, but for you to go from 0 to 100 is a great way to burn yourself out. So if that is your goal, wonderful. But in this scenario, setting a goal to go to the gym to lose weight is not a goal that you're committing to for your whole life. So if you're going to just go to the gym until you get your desired results without understanding that you have to maintain that result and continue to go to the gym, it's going to die out very quickly. And you have to really understand that you're going to have to be uncomfortable for a little while. So that's part of why it's so important to start small, and don't go to the gym every day. Go to the gym, I don't know, once a week, then twice a week, then 3 times a week, and then if you want to go more than that, I mean, more power to you. But you have to build these sustainable habits over time. So that's really what I want to emphasize if you're going to set a goal for yourself. Because again, people don't keep their resolutions because they don't make the decision to do whatever it takes to get uncomfortable, to expand their comfort zone, and to commit. And sometimes that comes through instant gratification, right? Sometimes it's way more gratifying in the moment to stay in bed than it is to think about your dream body months later down the road, because you can't see your physical body right now as it would look if you were to consistently go to the gym. It's a lot easier to deal with what's in front of you right now, which is your cozy, comfy bed. So uh, if you are deciding on a New Year's resolution, reframe it to a New Year's goal and a New Year's intention. And remember, intention is more around your focus, which could be gratitude, joy, happiness, abundance, prosperity. And then a tangible goal that you can measure, tangible in your hand, something that you will physically have. And create a plan. If you're going to set a goal, create a plan. How are you going to do it? Again, going back to the gym. If your plan is to go every day, that's a surefire way to most likely burn out and not keep the habit going. So create a plan that you know you can stick to. Put it in your calendar and schedule it so that you go. Because if it's not in your calendar, you're likely not going to do it. And I can vouch for this because I have things that I'll put in my calendar, and if I don't commit to them, I'm like, oh, I'll just move that around. Or if I don't put it at all, it won't happen. So I'm telling you this as someone who is practicing this and learning this. I'm putting this into my life as well, and I'm already seeing the benefits of it. So enough of that. I mean, I could go on, and I'll definitely do another episode on goals. But for now, let's go back into the laws of the universe. So this is part 3 of what the F are the laws of the universe. And so to recap, in the last 2 episodes, I already, between those 2 episodes, went over 6 of the laws of the universe out of a total of 12. So before I get into the next 3 that I'm going to explain in this episode, just a reminder, the last 6 that I went over are the Law of Divine Oneness, the Law of Vibration, the Law of Correspondence, the Law of Attraction, the Law of Inspired Action, and the Law of Perpetual Transmutation of Energy. I always smile when I say that last one because it's such a mouthful, and I don't know why. I just love it. It makes me laugh. So if you did not hear the last episodes on those laws, definitely go ahead and check them out, because what you'll find as you listen, I just realize it as I'm, researching them and looking them up and refreshing myself on them and studying them more, is that they are really all interwoven. And sometimes as I'm getting ready to do a podcast on them, I'm like, I feel like I already talked about this law while I was talking about another law, but I didn't really realize I was talking about it, or I didn't mention it. So know that all of these laws coexist, and they all work in harmony with one another. And our goal is to work in harmony with all of them. And they're always working. It's just, are they working in your favor? Are you using them to your benefit or using them against you? Because they're happening either way. It's just, are you in harmony with it when it comes to living the life that you desire and achieving the results that you want? So, and you can be in harmony with one law and not with another. And that's a really, really cool thing that you can start to notice as you study these laws. Is like, okay, well, this is going well here, and so I'm clearly kind of in harmony with this law, but over here, not so much. And you'll find that more in this episode more than anything, I would say. So the next 3 laws that I'm going to talk about for the second half of the 12 in this episode is the law of cause and effect, the law of compensation, and the law of relativity. And I'm particularly excited about the law of relativity for some reason, but it's the one I have the least notes on, so go figure. So I'll go into the first law, which is the law of cause and effect. This law is basically exactly what it sounds like, especially if you're familiar with Newton's third law of motion. So this law states that all actions have an equal and opposite reaction. This law is actually also known to most people as the law of karma. When you talk about karma, you're thinking you get what you put out. The energy that you put out is the energy that you get back. And I've said that so many times when I talked about the law of attraction and when I talked about the law of vibration. But this is the law that really states that. And apparently Emerson himself, I learned this from Bob Proctor. You'll find that most of what I talk about, I learned from Bob Proctor's teachings because my mentor is his number one. Bob Proctor said that Emerson said that this is the law of all laws. And it really makes sense because this is something that we experience our entire lives. From the day that we're born, we're learning natural consequences of life. When we're learning to walk, the natural consequence of walking is the risk of falling. We know, even going back to the gym, the effect of working out is going to give you muscles, right? So cause and effect is not just on a physical level of, the actions that you do are going to create a result, because that is really it. If you want results, you need to change your actions. If you want different results, every action that you take is going to give you some kind of result, some kind of consequence. But it's not even just on a physical level, it's on an energetic level, meaning that if you have a negative attitude, because it's so linked to attitude, if you have a negative attitude, you're going to get negativity back. The actions that you take with a negative attitude are going to cause the same kind of reaction. That's just, it's how it works. Even when I said we're a magnet for the energy that we are, this is also one of those laws that explains why when you are thinking about a person, they will text you out of the blue. You'll be like, I was just thinking of you. Yeah, because we're all connected. Going back to Law of Divine Oneness, when you are sending loving thoughts and energy to another person, you are receiving that like and same energy back simultaneously, immediately. If you're sending a loving and kind thought to another person, whether they're across the world or across the room, you are receiving that same energy back. And they can feel it. Very often they can feel it. And that's why they'll feel inspired to text you. And you don't even necessarily have to consciously think a loving thought about that person. You can just think of that person, but because you are connected to them and that you love them, maybe you're having a memory of them or something like that, your subconscious mind is emotionally involved in your relationship to that person. And since since the universe is always responding to your subconscious mind, because that's where your vibration lives, that's being sent across the world or sent across the state or the country, whatever it is. And that person is intuitively picking it up and feeling it, and then feeling inspired to message you. So it's really, really cool how that works. Whenever someone, if you think of a scenario, like people love karma. People love karma, especially when they've been cheated or hurt or whatever it is. You think about a movie and the bad guy gets what's coming to him. That's how it works. And it's not to say that this person that has done something unethical or out of integrity or unkind necessarily deserves what they're getting. That's a whole other conversation that we can debate when it comes to forgiveness. It's not that they necessarily deserve it. It's just they really did have it coming to them because they put that energy out. They put that energy out into the universe for an extended period of time, especially if it was a lot. So it's inevitable by law that some kind of reaction of the same is going to come back to them. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be the exact same thing. A lot of times it seems like it is, but it's something of the like vibration, whether it's, going to prison or being cheated on themselves or experiencing great loss, all the same. They're getting something back. I can think of so many stories are coming to mind, but they're all kind of sad, so I don't even want to go into them. But I will say that I recently heard a story from a woman that was just like, it was so sad, and this person did such horrible things, and then what ended up happening to him was I won't tell you what he did, but what ended up happening to him was he got shot, and he got shot in his genital area and lost a part of that area. He got shot in the dick, guys. It's called the What the Fuck podcast. I'm just gonna say, why beat around the bush? He got shot in the dick, and I thought it was so, I had to really, because it was such a story that like is very personal to me in terms of my beliefs, I had to really notice my instant gratification of that happening to him, and then realize that uh, that's an awful thing to happen to a person, but that is exactly what he attracted. That's what he had coming to him, because what he did, in my opinion, was so awful. So uh, that is, I guess, where I'm going to close off the law of cause and effect, which is every action that you take has an equal and opposite reaction. So you want to really, own this law and understand that any thoughts and any energy that you're putting out is going to come back to you. So, as hard as it might be because of the society that we live in, send love to everyone, because if you send love to everyone, you're going to be getting love back. Whatever you want more of, you need to give more of. So, if you want more patience from someone, give them more patience. If you want more money, sometimes you have to give more money, or you have to give more service, or give more of yourself, your time, whatever that might be. It's always an equal effect. So be the cause of your life. Don't be affected by the world. Don't let your results be influenced by the outside world. You are the cause. And this is something that is even really important in like whatever it is that you're doing. For example, just in my mind, social media comes to mind. Like if you're posting on social media, but you don't like posting on social media, this is a personal experience for me that I've been working through. And your intention in posting on social media is to get clients. It's not just about what you're posting, it's the energy behind what you're posting. So if you're posting just with this attitude of like, oh, I have to post, but I really don't feel like it. And oh my God, like I'm so desperate. I need clients. Like I have no money. I really hope that somebody likes this or whatever. That's going to come off in your video. Whether you think so or not, that's going to come off. It's the same as if you're working with someone, if you're a waiter and you're not, in a good mood, and it's going to show in your service, whatever it is that you're doing. But if you come in with an attitude of, I'm going to just do my best. I'm going to have fun making this video. I'm going to have so much fun serving my customers. I'm going to make sure they have a great experience, whatever it is. That energy is going to come through what you're doing, and it's going to come back in your results. So that is the law of cause and effect in a nutshell, which is also, again, related to karma. The next law is a really important law, one that I am still learning to master myself, but such an important law when it comes to particularly financial goals, and that is the law of compensation. This law is often tied to the phrase, you reap what you sow. So that can have, a positive connotation or a negative connotation, depending on what you're sowing. So I would say that, for this law, before I get into some key 3 points, is if you are, for example, growing a business and you only put in, I don't know, an hour of your time a week into your business, that's that hour is a seed, right? That's, consider that hour one seed. If you only plant one seed, you're only going to get one crop, assuming that you really took care of that one seed and you were like super efficient in that 1 hour, really nurturing that 1 hour, that one seed. But if you are dedicating 6 hours, let's say, to your business, I don't know, maybe you have a full-time job or whatever it is, but if you're still dedicating 6 hours a week to your business, well, then that right there, you're going to have 6 crops or more, because whatever crop you grow is going to produce more seeds. And then from there, you can produce more and more and more. So that's a small example, I guess, of reaping what you sow, is that the time that you put in is a direct correlation to the results that you're going to get out of that time. It's going to directly correlate how quickly your business grows, obviously how many clients you get, which then impacts how much money you earn. So the law of compensation is very similar to the law of cause and effect, of like, okay, well, what actions did you take? How much effort did you put in? How much work did you invest, and time did you invest in doing the thing so that you can reap the benefits? It's the same as the gym. Okay, if you go to the gym once a week, well, that's great, especially if you haven't gone much, but that's to build the habit. But if your intention is to get strong and to build muscle, or to, I don't know, to be more flexible or whatever it is, going once a week is only going to give you once a week results. But if you go 3 times a week, well, then you're going to get results of 3 times a week. And that's going to be a significantly different amount of results. That's going to be a significantly different looking body that you have. So the law of compensation is really plain and simple. You reap what you sow. And same with the energy that you put in. So if you, let's say, got a job that you really, really wanted, what was the energy behind getting that job? Did you undermine someone in order to get that job? Did you lie on your resume, or were you honest? Or let's say this is a job that you really thought was going to be like super life-changing, but then you didn't get it. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because maybe even though you had the best of intentions and you really thought like this was the job for you, it would have actually been the worst thing for you. And you would have found something, and you found something way better. And it's kind of one of those like, well, thank God I didn't take that job, because I wouldn't have had this job, or I wouldn't have had this experience, or I wouldn't have met this person. But if you go in with this terrible attitude or undermining ways, it could end up being the worst job. Like, let's say you did get the job, it could have been actually the worst job. You thought it was going to be the best and ended up being the worst. And the effect is, well, you went in with a terrible attitude and you didn't come in an honest way. And so now you're reaping what you sow. Sounds very similar to the law of karma when you think about it that way, but that is kind of a part of it. But what I want to get into now, specifically with this law, is 3 key points when it comes to making money and how this law works if you want to increase your income. So when it comes to increasing your income using this law, there are 3 main points that you need to consider if you really, really want to change the money that you're bringing in a big way. And so number 1 is the need for what you do. The need for what you do. Number 2 is your ability to do it. And number 3 is the difficulty in replacing you. So let's go back to number 1, the need for what you do. There are, it goes back to supply and demand. I think about athletes and actors, because those are the people that we know that earn like just crazy amounts of money all the time, consistently. And so there's a great need for what they do, because we as human beings love to be entertained. We love to be entertained. It's super important to us. And so we get entertained by watching athletes and by watching movies and television. So there's a great need for actors, and that's why they get compensated. But the ones that are super successful goes into number two, which is their ability to do it. The best actors and the best athletes are the ones that get paid the most, because number three, they're so difficult to replace. So when it comes to you, and let's say you have a service or a product that you are selling, is there a great need for that service or product that you have? And most likely there is, but you really have to consider who your target audience is, or you know, who, of course, who's buying what it is that you're selling, and why is there a great need? So is there a great need for what you do, and or what you have to offer, what it is that you're selling? And then if there is, how good is it how good is it, or are you at delivering what is being promised by your service or product? How good are you at coaching? How good are you at teaching swim? How good are you at um, I don't know, designing clothes? How good is your what's something that someone can sell? How good are your essential oils? Whatever it is. What is the service that you're offering? What are the results promised by what it is that you're selling? How good are you at doing it? How good are you at selling the product? How good is your product at, I don't know why, but I'm thinking of oven mitts right now. So I'm just going to go with it. I'm like thinking of infomercials. And so oven mitts come to mind. Like, how good are your oven mitts? Are they going to protect me if I touch my hand on the oven? I once was gifted these like insane oven mitts by my roommate at the time, because shout out again, because I was always burning myself constantly. So it was like a running joke at this point but not even, because then it ended up getting me these really, really heavy duty, like burn proof oven mitts, and they worked. And so that promise was delivered. And then, of course, when it comes to a service, I don't know, let's say you're a coach. Yeah, I think coaching is a great one. What are the results that you can provide to the clients that you have, to the clients that you're trying to attract? And how good are you at delivering on those results? So the need for what you do must come first. And then your ability to do it is also incredibly important. And then once you have those two down pat, once you have really solidified your ability to do it, the third one takes care of itself, which is the difficulty in replacing you. If you're really, 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 really good at what you do, it is not going to be easy to replace you. There are many times, I'm sure, where you've heard about a job or a position where you realize, oh, that person, or maybe even you, are replaceable. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean that you're not valuable. You're valuable. You're a human being. You're valuable. You have something to offer that nobody else has, because you're the only you that's ever existed in the entire universe. And you will forever and only ever be the only you that has ever existed in the entire universe. Nobody has lived your life. Nobody has had your experiences. Nobody has your story. So you have something to offer. Maybe you don't know what that is yet, or you haven't realized what that is yet, but you have something to offer. You just have to decide, well, you have to figure out what that is, and then you have to decide to get really, 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 really good at it. And that's, I think, the part where a lot of people, including myself, have shied away from, which is it takes work, it takes practice, it takes study, it takes effort to get really good at what you do. But then once you do that, everything else is taken care of. So, for example, podcasting, I mean, I have to be willing to suck for a little bit in order to get really, really good at it. Coaching, it's been years that I have been learning how to be a coach at this point. And knowing that I can provide results for people. So I'm right here with you, in this. Um, so that's what I really, really want to emphasize about the law of compensation, which is that there needs to be a difficulty in replacing you. Make yourself irreplaceable in your niche, in your line of work. Make your product so good, not in a way where you're creating competition, because competition implies lack, but just make your product so good that people are just going to gravitate towards you. Make it so good that it's irreplaceable. So that's the law of compensation. Let's move into the third and final law of this episode. And that law, I was about to sneeze. And that law is the law of relativity. So the law of relativity is something that I have been saying without really saying, and most of my episodes probably, which is that everything just is. When I talked about, how this life force that flows through us, source energy, is impartial, it's neutral, it's non-judgmental, it just is. That is really where the law of relativity comes into play. That's the case for everything in life. The law of relativity states that there is no specific good, there is no specific bad, there is no specific right, there is no specific wrong. This can be a particularly challenging law to grasp and comprehend and be okay with, especially if you grew up with religion, or if you just really resonate with the morals and ethics aligned with society. And it's one that can invite in a lot of arguments, because to us, even to myself, there are some things in life that are clearly just not right, like murder, theft, rape, war. I mean, I think war is wrong, but that's a perfect example. Is some people think that war is right, war is a good thing, and a great way to solve problems. And then here I am, my opinion, I think it's ridiculous. I think that it's illogical and immature and wrong, and I think there are better ways. So that is a perfect example of law of relativity. Is even though things to us seem clearly wrong, that's just our perception of it. The universe, whoever created us, whatever you want to call it, just is. And when it looks at us and the world that we're living in and the things that we're doing, it's not judging us. It's not saying you're doing something wrong, you're doing something bad, you're going to hell, you're going to heaven. It doesn't do that. It just observes and watches, and then based on our behavior observes the results that we are creating. And that's not good or bad to the universe, it just is. We are the ones that decide what's good. We are the ones that decide what's bad. We are the ones that decide what's right and what's wrong. It's all based on our perception and our experience. I believe even in a previous episode, I went as far as to say that, even a murderer is not judged in the eyes of that which created us. And to that murderer, while yes, to most people that is wrong, to them in that moment, what they did felt right. As dark as that sounds. And, to a lesser degree, I'll take a lesser example, theft, right? So we can all probably agree that most people would say that to steal is wrong. But what about a child that's hungry? Or what about a mom that's trying to feed her family and she's so desperate that she doesn't know what else to do because she doesn't have the resources or ability to get a job or whatever it is, or the awareness of a better solution? So she steals for her family. Is it still wrong? Why? Why is it still wrong? Or why is it okay? Right? It's all relative to the situation. When you think about first world problems, I mean, I joke about first world problems all the time, and I always acknowledge when if I'm complaining, and I don't complain often, but if I am, I will very quickly put myself in check and acknowledge, like, I am having a first world problem right now, and I am very, very fortunate that this is my problem. Because you can use the law of relativity in a really great way, not to feel guilty. Don't ever use anything to make you feel guilty. You can use the law of relativity to find gratitude for your problems or for your struggles. So on a smaller relative to the situation, because law of relativity also governs what's big or small. For a smaller example, let's say your laptop died in the middle of, I don't know, writing a report, and you didn't save it, and that shit, you need it by tomorrow, and you're just devastated. Listen, that sucks. I've been there, and that sucks. But relative to someone else who couldn't even dream of buying a laptop, that problem seems small in comparison to the person that doesn't even have money to afford school or a laptop. And I know that I said that comparison is the thief of joy. And so I'm not saying to compare yourself to everyone all the time, because that can be a dangerous thing. But it is really helpful to do it when you feel stuck and you just want to complain your ass off because of things that really, if you shift your perspective, are not as big as you are making them out to be. If you really understand the law of relativity, you can use this to put things into perspective where you can actually find gratitude, where it's like, wow, yeah, man, it does suck that I lost my report. It really does. But I am so grateful that I do have this laptop and a charger so that I can just recharge it and type it up. I still have time. I can do this. Law of relativity goes with money, even. It's like, for example, my mentor was talking about how when she first started in the program that I'm now in, she took it herself like 6 years ago. She was asked how much money she would need to earn in order to be wealthy. And at that time, she had like 2 months worth of savings, and prior to that, only like $4.20. Like, she was broke. So her answer was $250,000 was the amount of money that she needed in order to be wealthy. Well, she's a multimillionaire now. She has earned 8 figures. So back then, $250,000 was a lot of money to her. I mean, it is to a lot of people, I'm sure. I mean, to me, I'm like, that would be dope. Yeah, I'd love $250,000. But I don't think it would make me wealthy, but I think it would help me, a great deal, and I would happily accept it. But relative to where she was then, $250,000 was a lot of money. Now, relative to where she is and what she's earned, that's not a lot of money. She even said she considers it a bad month. So things are always relative to where you stand and how you see them. And you always have a choice in how you see things. Your perspective is always going to be changing based on your experiences and what you've been through. But you do have choice in how you want to see what it is that you're going through at that time. If you, I mean, I think about like little kids and how we were always told there are children starving in Africa and you don't want to finish your food. I don't agree with saying that to children, because that's a way that you're using the law of relativity to invite in guilt. That's basically saying you need to eat everything on your plate because someone else in Africa is starving if you don't. No. Unfortunately, that person is starving either way, whether you finish your food or not. I believe the intention is to find gratitude in the fact that you have food in front of you, but saying it that way just The intention wasn't fulfilled. You've just instilled guilt. Another example of how you could reframe that is maybe, huh, let's, I don't know, I'm just going to go off like a little example of, let's see if this works. You're a little kid and you don't like what mommy made you. And let's assume that mommy didn't guilt you by saying there are children starving in Africa, but you as a child are very aware. You could say, I don't really like what my mommy made me, but I'm so grateful that she made me food. Oh, there's a dog barking. I mean, if you even want to go back into using the law of relativity to discuss what's right versus wrong, there was a point in time where many people believed that slavery was right. There was a time where people believed that women not being able to vote was right. There's even right now people that believe that gay marriage is wrong, equal pay is wrong, abortions are wrong. And a lot of people think the opposite, but these are things that a majority of people have deemed are right, to the point where it's the overwhelming thought, right? Like this overwhelming thought has caused a result in which laws were created against doing these things, until a person's awareness changed, or not a person's awareness, but the group collective's awareness changed, and then they realized, oh wait, maybe slavery isn't right. Maybe women do deserve to vote. Maybe love is equal, and so forth. And I mean, I'm not trying to get political here, but this is a perfect example of the law of relativity when you want to discuss right versus wrong. I mean, there could not be a clearer picture here of how that perspective changes over time as we grow and as time evolves and our awareness grows. And it really has a lot to do with maturity. It really, really does. It has to do with maturity and group consciousness and awareness. Uh, as far as being right or wrong when it comes to decision making, because a lot of us, at least myself included, I'm not going to say everyone obviously, but a lot of us often worry about whether or not we're making the right or wrong decision, if we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. I think that's something that we've had drilled into our heads since we were little, is do the right thing. Well, what does that mean? Making a choice, the right or wrong choice, is relative to what it is that you're trying to achieve. What are the results that you're trying to accomplish and gain? What's your goal? If your goal is to, increase your income, the right choice would be to focus on your business, and the wrong choice would be to go out gambling. Maybe, I don't know, unless you're a really good gambler. So, or the wrong choice would be to just, sit back and watch Netflix. If your intention or your goal is to improve your relationship, the right choice would be to schedule some date time. The wrong choice would be to cheat on a person, So making the right or wrong choice is relative to what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and also your belief system. And that can be seen in cultures everywhere, even something as basic as tipping the waiter. In some places, it's considered rude. It's considered wrong to tip the waiter, whereas in other places, it's rude if you don't. It's all relative. So this is a really, really big law that you can start to use, especially like, for example, if, what's an example? Law of relativity is something I think of even when, if you're ever interacting with a child and you see them crying over something that you don't consider a big deal, right? Like they broke their toy, or kids laugh. I mean, I've worked with kids for so many years and they cry about so many random things that to us don't seem like a big deal. But when we were little, when we were their age, they were a huge deal. We all did that shit. We all found ridiculous things to get mad and cry over. But because we grew and because we learned relative to our experience and understanding, that's not a big deal anymore. But to them, it's a huge deal. So please, if you have a child or you work with children, never tell them that something is not a big deal, because you're invalidating their experience and their feelings. To them, it's a huge deal. That's why they're crying. That's why they're having the reaction that they're having. just empathize with them and remember who you were and how you still are sometimes, and say, it's okay. I understand why you're upset, or I understand why you're angry. It's okay. Just tell them it's okay. So that's like the most that I would say. Say it's okay, or I hear you, or I understand, or I'm here for you, whatever it is. Law of relativity goes into big or small when it comes to, like, a house, even. Let's say you uh, lived in a studio apartment and then you moved into a one bedroom. That place probably feels huge to you now compared to your studio apartment. It's not technically a big place, quote unquote, but to you it is, because you've upgraded. So the law of relativity is always at play, and it is always based on your perspective, your awareness, your experience, your understanding of the world. That's why there is no direct, specific good or bad, right or wrong, big or small, etc., etc. And that is why I am saying full-heartedly that I don't believe in a God that says you are good and you are bad and you are right and you are wrong and you are going here and you are going there. Because if there was one specific right, I think we'd most likely all follow it. And if there was one specific wrong, we would know not to do it. But that's not how things work. We have to figure out what works for us. What works for you may not work for me. What works for me may not work for you, because you're your own unique individual, and I am my own unique individual. And yes, we're all one and we're all the same, but we do have uniqueness within each and every single one of us. So because of that uniqueness, it's just truly impossible for one person to be right and then everybody else be wrong, and vice versa. I could tangent on about this on and on, so I hope I'm still making sense. So I'm going to leave it here. To recap, we have now officially been over a 9 out of 12 of the laws of the universe. And I hope that you listen to these regularly, and that outside of my podcast, you look into them yourselves. I want to make a point here in that anything that I share on this podcast, you don't have to trust what I say. Put it into practice for yourself. Look into them yourself, because you're only ever going to believe once you apply, once you do, once you try. I am not making this stuff up. This is stuff that I'm studying, that I'm learning, that I am finding is working for me and has worked for many, many, many successful people. And so I just hope that you find your experience the same, that it becomes your truth too. So the 9 laws that I have been over so far are the Law of Divine Oneness, the Law of Vibration, the Law of Correspondence, the Law of Attraction, the Law of Inspired Action, the Law of Perpetual Transmutation of Energy, the Law of Cause and Effect, the Law of Compensation, and the Law of Relativity. So do what you will with these laws. Remember, they're working all the time, whether you believe them or not, whether you like it or not, they are happening. So try to let them work in your favor. Try to work in favor with them, in harmony with them, and see which ones you're already in harmony with and which ones you're not. Until next time, this will be the last episode of 2022. I'm realizing that as I'm saying it. How cool. I just want to express so much gratitude for the fact that I started this podcast. So much gratitude to you for listening, and so much gratitude for every experience that I've had, because it has been one interesting roller coaster of a year with a lot of challenges, but a lot of growth and a lot of healing. And I'm really looking forward to expanding more in 2023 and taking all that I experienced that serves me from 2022 into 2023, and just leaving all the hurt behind, all the pain. And so I invite you to do the same. It's just really find the things that you want to take with you in 2023, and then leave the rest behind. Let it go. If it's not serving you, let it go. And remember, You don't need fixing, so you don't need a resolution. Set an intention, set a goal, and decide that you're going to do whatever it takes to achieve that goal. You have everything that you need. You're more than capable of doing it. I believe in you, and I know that you will be successful if you just make that decision. Until next time, I love you so, so, so much. Thank you for listening. Happy New Year. I'll see you in the next year. Or I'll talk to you in the next year. Bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of the WTF podcast. I hope that you gained all kinds of value from listening and that your WTF question was answered. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow me on Instagram at Coach Stephanie B. If you have a WTF question of your own, or you have any interest in working one-on-one with me, then feel free to send me a private message. And when it comes to your question, I'll do my best to answer it either here or privately. In the meantime, until the next episode, I'm wishing you the most wonderful day, the most wonderful week, and reminding you to smile and then see if you can make somebody else smile. Until next time.